Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. In this video, I want to talk about the recent update regarding Fauna in Star Citizen, and what we will see mid-term and long-term. As always, huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. It is because of you guys that I get to make these kinds of videos. If you enjoy my content and would like to help make it even better from as little as $1 a month, it is all very much appreciated. Follow the links in the description below. So, Fauna in Star Citizen has always been a hot topic, especially on my stream. The thought of planets and moons teeming with animals and creatures of all kinds has crossed my mind on many occasions. Now, we know CIG fully intend to introduce all kinds of fauna into the verse, of varying types from small insects, herding animals, predators, all the way up to space whales and the sandworm, which we saw on Layer 3. Well, recently we had an update in regards to what the first creature will be and what to expect from there. So let's take a look at the mid-term and long-term plans for fauna in the verse of Star Citizen, as well as fill you in on CIG's intentions from past talks. Firstly, let me explain how CIG will break down the fauna into three distinct categories. We have insects, boids, and creatures. Now, insects, as they put it, will involve visual effects that will play in a particular area, like around a tree, for example, giving the impression that it is teeming with life around there. Next up, we have boids, and these will consist of things like frogs or snakes or rats. This also includes the omnipods or the omnicrabs, which we know inhabit the scrap worlds of Hurston. We've seen these in the past. I also think this will likely involve things like birds and just small fauna. And then finally, we have creatures, which are herding animals, apex predators, and as we mentioned before, including the sandworm of Lair. Now, this distinction sounds like we will have a wide variety of different fauna, not to mention things like alien life forms, which will also range greatly from the unknown bacteria to xenomorph-style creatures maybe living on board derelict ships or abandoned space stations. In regards to insects, I would personally like to think that one day we will see insects that are not just visual effects, but actual physical entities that the player will be able to interact with or be interacted by. I realise the reason for visual effects in creating this effect, but it would be great if one day we could capture and study these insects, or if you interfere with the wrong insect, maybe they swarm you or bite you or inject you with something. We'll have to wait to hear more on that at a later date, but my fingers are crossed. Now, we have heard in the past that all of the animals and creatures that inhabit the verse will make sense to the environment, the location they live in, the food sources that are available in that location, the gravity of that planet, and so on. An example of this is maybe places with a very cold climate will have animals with thick fur to keep them warm. They're not just going to be randomly created animals that are popped into a planet to just run around. The fauna will actually live and make sense to that environment. So, what will be the first fauna that we see in-game? Now, as you have probably heard, no pun intended, it is going to be the Cahsee Grazer. Now, this is the Terran equivalent to our own bovine, or the domesticated cow, and its description is as followed. These large, warm-blooded herd animals were originally discovered on the vast plains of Cahsee, which is apparently a region of the planet Terra, most notable for their unusual method for how they carry their young, one of the standard seed animals, and can be commonly found on most terraformed planets around the UEE. Aside from using their eggs for cooking, the grazers are also used for their meat, and in some remote sections of space, tanning their skins for heavy winter clothing. So let's take a look at these creatures and what we can expect to see once they are in-game. Now, we know what they look like. We know they are very similar to our own Earth cow, so I would expect to see animations and behaviours similar to that of our own. CIG are currently creating animation rigs to allow it to move as they intend it to, and establishing the Cahsee Grazer's 24-hour sort of day-to-day activities, like what they eat, where do they eat, where are their drinking holes, and so on. The Cahsee Grazers were discovered on Terra, as it says, and has been transported throughout the verse to other planets within the UEE to provide food and clothing to its inhabitants. Now, in terms of what gameplay will the Cahsee Grazers bring to Star Citizen, we know farmsteads will be a thing in-game, be that an NPC or player-owned farmstead. Not anytime soon, of course, but I would expect eventually we will be able to farm the Grazers, most likely starting out with building a farmstead capable of caring for the Cahsee Grazers, then purchasing them, rearing them in some way and eventually selling them on. Now, to what level of control we will have in this mechanic, I can't even begin to imagine, but I'm sure it'll be just as engrossing as any other mechanic they create in game. Now, when the Cahsee Grazer first gets implemented, I would expect gameplay to mostly consist of the transportation of these animals as livestock, herding them into a cargo hold and transporting them across the verse to other settlements or villages or farmsteads. We know CIG have said that there will be options of livestock as cargo or as a commodity, maybe requiring your cargo hold to have some particular setup to cater for their needs while in transportation. Beyond that, I'm not really sure what other gameplay could involve, so do let me know what your thoughts are here, but even just watching these creatures go about their day-to-day business will be very interesting. So what's next? What's beyond the Cahsee Grazer? Well, CIG have said that it'll be the space whale, and we recently saw 3 potential concepts for this upcoming space whale, each one looking incredible, I will say, and the whales are native to the gas clouds of Crusader, apparently breaching above the clouds every now and again. Now this sounds amazing. The thought of that you could be on a Starfarer, scooping up fuel from Crusader, filling up those tanks, and then all of a sudden a gigantic space whale breaches through the surface. I just cannot even begin to imagine how that will feel. It'll be that much of a spectacular event that Orison, the main landing zone of Crusader, will put on tours for tourists to pay and whale watch. I will most definitely pay to take that ride. Now, aside from whale watching tours, what else can we expect from, in gameplay terms, from these whales? CIG did mention the potential for gathering barnacles from the skin of the whales. This would mean watching for when the whale breaches the gas clouds, flying as close as possible, and then having a limited time to get onto the whale, scrape the barnacle off and collect it, and then get off before it dives back under the cloud surface. Now, this sounds insanely exciting, but also extremely dangerous. I do want to take part in this, or at least film someone doing this. I think that would be incredible. Aside from gathering barnacles, though, it would be great fun to be able to study the whales, maybe spending time around the orbit of Crusader, waiting for a whale to breach and then scanning it, or maybe tagging it with a tracker to observe its movements. CIG will likely create deep backstories to these creatures to establish them in the lore and make them fascinating, having things for us to discover about them as well. But beyond space whales, what comes next? To finish off the Fauna talk, one of the developers explained that coming next will be dangerous animals, stating that these are already being concepted, the worlds are going to get a little more dangerous. Now, this isn't the first time that Fauna has been spoken about by CIG. There was a post from 2017 asking us to help name 3 animals native to the Jan system. This included a wool-yielding, goat-like animal bred for its fur, found in rocky, high-altitude biomes capable of navigating craggy terrain, again going back to the environment making sense to the animal. An apex predator, which lives in the trees, capable of gliding from tree to catch its prey, but also known for going after land animals as well. And then finally, a domesticated common pet, which is found on Rila, one of the planets in the Jan system, which comes in many different coat colours and loves swimming. Talking of pets, during the early funding year, if you are new to the game or if you haven't been around for that long, one of the goals for $64 million was to bring pets to the verse, stating that you could have cats roaming around on board your ship. Now, obviously, beyond this, it'll be things like having animals and creatures living in your apartment, your hangars, and even wandering around your outposts. Now, the world of Fauna in Star Citizen is extremely expansive, the Sandworms of Layer 3 being the height of this extremity. The worlds of the verse will be populated with a wealth of animals and creatures, known and unknown, some left to be discovered by ourselves. Obviously, we are a long way from having the planets teeming with life forms, but these Cahsee Grazers are the first step to this, and it's exciting to hear they are well underway, bringing them to reality. But that does bring me to the end of this video. I hope you found it interesting, and if you did, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more videos. Make sure to let me know what animals and creatures you would like to see in the verse and why. But with that said, be sure to follow me over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers. Come and hang out with us live on Twitch, where we discuss all sorts of things, including animals. Thank you again to all of my patrons and channel members. Your support is truly appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.